Uber announced a newly updated API that includes something they're calling trip experiences. That's a way for Uber to help you organize your smartphone time during your trip. Trip experiences allows third-party apps to serve customized content that will help you be more productive or have fun or control your internet-connected home, all while you're in your Uber. Of course, they will also let you look at some advertisements.
They'll let you.
They will. So it's kind of just like, this idea of letting third-party apps control that time where you're not driving in a car.
So if I'm in the car, I'm in the back seat of an Uber, and I assume this is designed to say, all right, we're going to assume that Scott Johnson doesn't have a bunch of games or other distracting things on his phone. We want to make sure to poke him with other ideas of ways he could spend his time, like browsing in particular shopping idea or doing this other thing. I feel like people have a lot of distractions on their phone already. I'm a little surprised that they think we're stumped as to what to do while we're in the car, because it seems like a no-brainer to check Twitter, to check Instagram, to check your emails. There's already a million distractions on top of even those. So to me, it feels a little bit strange, but maybe they're just trying to leverage a way to get more ads in front of people. I don't know.
And it's not like we aren't practiced in the way of entertaining ourselves with a smartphone, right? Like, this actually kind of reminds me, on Android, there's a lot of like smart launchers, let's say, and basically what they do is they analyze your activity. How do you use your phone when you're at work at 6 p.m.? How do you use your phone when you're at home at 8 in the morning or whatever? And over time, propose to kind of like change things around to offer up the thing that you most likely are going to do at that particular time. And what you end up with, at least in my experience, is an ever-changing kind of blob of things that, though they might be presenting to you the things that you might want to do, because everything is always changing and out of the normal routine that you're used to doing, it's actually way more confusing than it is problem solving. And I almost feel that like a little bit of that here too. It's kind of like, depending on how they treat it, of course, we haven't used this, but getting into an Uber, like you're saying, Scott, and then, I want to do this thing, but now it tells me, hey, now's the time to browse the web or whatever the case may be, might actually kind of slow you down and be kind of somewhat inconvenient.
Yeah, and if you're not a usual, let's say you're not let's say you're a semi-regular Uber user, and it's not a thing you do very often, but when you do, you still have that stigma, if you want to call it a stigma, but that thing of where you're in some dude or lady's car. You don't know them. They're doing the Uber thing. You're doing the Uber thing. There's this agreement and you're in the car. And what do we want to do while we're in a situation that is a little less comfortable than our normal situation is go to the things that anchor us to our normalcy.
Sure.
And those things are Angry Birds, Tetris, or whatever it is you brought with you. So I just don't know that I'm going to be all that interested. To me, this is the Sky Mall of Uber. I don't mean just from we want to sell you products or show you advertising perspective. I mean it from here's this pocket in front of me in a plane. I am now out of ideas of what to do with myself. So I will now flip through this and find, weird cat feeders or whatever. And I don't know that we need it. It feels like a thing we don't necessarily want or need, but I have been wrong on that count before. Maybe that's true here.
Well, I completely agree with the idea that, we turn to our smartphones when we're in an uncomfortable situation. But I think the long game here is that the Uber driver is not going to be there in, a dozen years or whenever the autonomous vehicle dream comes true. And there's just working out this time. They're trying to be the pioneers of our eyeball time, which is we're all going to have when we're no longer driving cars, when a robot is driving the car for us. That's my idea on this.
One of the ways that this might actually be kind of handy, and I actually kind of like this because it tied into something we talked about last week about the car that takes the amount of time it takes to get through a movie, and then you arrive right on time. One of the things, an example here is dynamic song playlists. So if Uber knows that you're going to be in the Uber car for 10 to 12 minutes or 15 or whatever the case may be, it'll create potentially a dynamic song playlist that will match the length of your drive so that you don't miss out on the end of that important song when you get to your location.
That's not bad. That's actually a pretty good idea. I'll one up that for you, okay? If I'm in New York and I'm in an Uber, I wouldn't mind an app, and I'm sure these exist in some other form anyway that are tied to GPS, but have it tied directly to Uber so that it's kind of giving me not a complete tour guide of the city, but saying, this is the corner where Steve Martin and Kevin Bacon raced for a taxi cab in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles or whatever. Give me some weird, obscure, fun facts, even if you're in a small town somewhere that you hardly know a thing about. this is where the mayor in 1812 got up and shot a chicken in front of a live audience or whatever. I'm into that. Like, that would be a thing that would distract me. I could have some real fun with. I would love to talk about later. Like, I realize this all sounds very trivial, but that is kind of where my head's at when I'm in a car. So like, that would be great. Music is another great idea.
Thankfully, users do have control on a per app basis, so you can choose which apps you want to tie into this and which don't. So it's not totally Wild West. There's provisions for the API to prevent kind of unsolicited messages and ads, promotions, that sort of stuff. So
right. And your choices mean better advertising.